Could some teams, especially the bigger ones, be forced to miss races this year? In 2021, a cost cap was introduced into Formula One to help make the series more competitive by leveling up the playing field in terms of the team's spending. The financial regulations are used to ensure that all the teams are financially stable and can have a long-term future in the sport. Before last season, the richer teams, such as Mercedes, were spending much more than the smaller teams, such as Haas. As F1 is not a spec series, money can bring clear performance advantages, allowing teams to design faster cars. The 2021 cost cap was set at $145 million, which had to cover all spending on improving the car's performance. This budget does not include money spent on drivers' salaries, marketing, or the salaries of the team's top 3 highest-paid staff. This means that the teams can still offer their drivers large salaries every year, such as Mercedes, who pay Lewis Hamilton $40 million each year. Some costs are not included, such as property costs or employee bonuses, so the larger teams can still spend over $300 million per year, but not all the money will be directly spent on improving their car. Last season, all the teams managed to stay within the rules, and there were no major issues around spending. However, for the 2022 season, the cap has been reduced by $5 million to $140 million. Many teams, especially the larger ones who were fighting a costly development war at the top of the championships, feel that it will be near impossible for them to stay within the cost cap this year. This is partly because there are very high levels of inflation in the countries in which the teams are based, such as the UK. This means that the costs for the teams are increasing while the cost cap is staying at the same level, which was designed for a normal financial year where inflation would be far lower. There have been noticeably large increases in freight and development costs, meaning that the teams have little money left over to spend on upgrades. Therefore, many of the team principals have called for the cost cap to be increased this year, as some feel that their team will not be able to finish the season. The prospect of some teams having to miss races towards the end of the season is a possibility if the FIA do not address this issue. When asked by Autosport if they'll be able to stay within the rules, Ferrari team principal Mattia Binotto answered, "I think that there will be no way for us to stay below, so I'm pretty sure at some stage we will go over. I don't think there's any way for us and for many teams to stay within the cap, and even laying off people, I don't think that's the right choice. None of us could predict when we came up with the budget cap figures the world events that are driving inflation." Red Bull team principal Christian Horner, whose team currently lead both the Drivers' and the Constructors' Championship, also told Autosport, "The FIA need to address the inflationary issue. Probably about 7 of the teams probably need to miss the last 4 races to come within the cap this year, from the consensus that there has been up and down the paddock." The 2 top teams in the Constructors' Championship want the cost cap to increase, whilst the other teams feel that this would be unfair as they have already planned out their spending for the year and took inflation into account. The Renault-owned Alpine team, who are currently a midfield team, are one of the teams who have publicly stated that they want the cost cap to stay the same. Their team principal, Otmar Safnauer, has stated that, "We've set our budgets early. We kind of anticipated a little bit of inflation. Inflation didn't just creep up on us. If we can do it, for sure others can do it too. I'm not just for increasing the cap when freight costs go up $2.5 million or $3.5 million, but your development budget is 20. Can you not make your development budget 17 and still be under the cap? You can." However, most of the teams disagree with this opinion. The fear over the rules will also be increased next year when the cap will be reduced to $135 million. Many of the teams also feel that the planned drop for the next season will make it impossible to adhere to. It has been estimated that around $7 million should be added to make sure that the teams can still operate at a good level for the whole year. If any of the teams break these rules, which is very likely for the larger teams, they could be given penalties. The teams are monitored by a regulator to make sure that they do not break the cap, and if they are found to be breaking the rules, their punishment? which could range from a financial penalty to an exclusion from the World Championship, depends on the severity of the breach. Nobody truly knows what rules would be applied for a breach this season, as there have been nearly no examples to date. The only penalty that has been given so far was given to Williams, as they did not submit their financial documents for 2021 on time. They did not break the cost cap budget, but they were fined $25,000. The teams are allowed to break the cap by 5%, but any further spending could cause the FIA to penalize the team in a way that could potentially decide the standings at the end of the season. Major breaches could result in points deductions or exclusions from the World Championship.